The Federal Reserve is set to meet this week and is expected to cut interest rates. The question is by how much? President Trump has been demanding cuts from Chairman Jerome Powell for months, but would it help with a cooling jobs market and rising inflation? Let's bring in Peter Morici, former U.S. International Trade Commission chief and a longtime business professor at the University of Maryland. I know you make a lot of predictions. You do it just every week, really, about the state of the economy. What's your thought on the Federal Reserve cut?
Well, it'll be a quarter point. We're really not focused as much on the quarter point as what indication do they give us about the pace of future cuts. What does the narrative in the new statement, because that statement will change. How much emphasis do they put on a weakening job market? Most economists expect just one more rate cut before the end of the year, but the markets are betting on two. And
there is some supposition out there that you might get three cuts to 75 basis points this year.
Well, that's right. When I say two, I'm talking about 50 basis points.
I see.
One in September and one at a future meeting before the end of the year versus three, one at each meeting, which would take us down 75. Last year, we came down 100 basis points from September to December. But during that period, it didn't help a lot because Treasury borrowing went up, and that spooked the Treasury market, and the 10-year Treasury and mortgage rates went up.
You point out that, the jobless rate or the jobs numbers have not been as strong as the government originally thought. But part of the problem is that the jobs that are there don't have qualified people to fill them.
Absolutely. We need people in factories, for example, as we saw with the problem in the Hyundai plant in Georgia. We don't have people to do the things that need to be done. In the tech sector, the tech sector is actually shrinking in terms of the number of employees, but the AI component is expanding. A lot of your tech workers don't have AI skills. And in a slowing economy like we have, which would have been naturally slowing, people are losing their jobs for which there really aren't new jobs available. If you're a project planner and 10 have been laid off, maybe there's 7 vacancies out there. And so people are going to simply have to retool. And, when I speak to younger workers who are in this situation, some of them are kind of stubborn about that. And I think they're being very foolish. I mean, we have to change with the times.
The tariff revenue that the president has been bringing into the federal treasury through these the tariffs that he has announced to some displeasure in some segments. Tariff revenue is up significantly. We have a graphic that shows in August of last year, it was $8 billion. This year, $30 billion in August of 2025, 126% up from last year. Now, what happens to that money, Peter, and how does it help the U.S. economy?
Well, essentially, it goes back into the Treasury unless the president decides to spend it on something. And those numbers are right on track with my forecast. My feeling is the big, beautiful bill increased the deficit about $330 billion a year. We're not seeing the full impact of the tariffs there yet. My feeling is that this is going to increase the revenue by about the same amount so that the net fiscal policy effect of Donald Trump is zero. And that is, he has not stimulated the economy and he's not subtracted from the economy. And so my feeling is that fiscal policy is in a reasonable place. And we just can't expect too much from monetary policy. For example, the place where you expect the biggest bang is in home building. But with the deportation situation and that sector being so dependent on migrant workers, I don't know how much new home building we'll be able to get. So in the end, lower mortgage rates might mean that just young folks that are finally deciding to buy a house are going to bid up the prices.
Yeah, and home building and home sales are an important facet of the economy because somebody buys a new home, then they go out and buy rugs and toasters and everything else.
More than that. When we're building at a healthy pace, we're putting up new subdivisions, which means a new supermarket goes up, and the supermarket needs fixtures, and those come from the steel industry and so forth. There's all kinds of ripple effects if you start building houses, not infills. I mean, they're nice, they're important, but if you start building houses in sizable numbers again, developing subdivisions, you're going to get a lot of spillover.
All right. What's your prediction for next year? What do you think 2026 is going to look like?
I think we're going to get decent growth next year. I think we'll get through this without a recession, or if we do, it's going to be very mild. And then we'll return to about 2% growth. Now, it's not as good as we got during the Trump-Biden years, those last 8 years, which was 2.5. But you got to remember, we're only capable of adding at full employment about 25,000 jobs a month, because that's all we get out of population growth. Unless we have immigrants at some level, we can't have 100,000, 150,000 jobs a month because we don't have the people to fill them.
Okay. Peter Morici, always interesting to talk to you. Thank you.
Take care.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.